All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the first Minecraft therapy of 2025. 2025. What a freaking year. Who thought we'd get here? Not me, but somehow here we are. And since it's 2025, I figured now would be as good a time as any to do a state of the vibes because as I've said for the fourth time this video, is 2025. That means we're halfway through the decade, guys. Once again, I cannot believe that time is flying by this quickly. If you're in college, let me just say that like the 4 years or 5 years, I guess, it's actually been, who knows? It's been a long time since college. The years after college, you think they don't go fast, they go fast. Like 22 to 26, those years of your life like zoom by. I have no idea how the frick I got this old, but somehow I'm here. But yeah, we're halfway through the decade, guys. Holy shit. And we're a quarter of the way through the 21st century. Double holy shit. So, like I said, I figure now is as good a time to get a feel for how the general state of affairs of the world is going and just test and talk about the vibes a little bit. Before I start, I think I should probably define what I mean by the vibes. So, the vibes are not anything that's rooted in so called facts or logic or data. Throw all those things out the window when we're talking about the vibes. The vibes, they can't be defined by things like the consumer price index or inflation. The vibes are just something you gotta feel in your gut as to whether we as human beings are moving closer towards light or darkness. So even if we are doing well in the world compared to all of human history, right? Because I'm going to talk about this video mostly from an American perspective, but in America, most of us have housing and clothes and food, things that would have been almost unheard of for a peasant living in the 10th century. They would have been like, what the hell? You guys get to eat bread every day? I'd be like, yeah, bro, we got a lot of bread. We got a lot of eggs too, even though they're really expensive. I went into the store today. They were selling a dozen eggs for $10. Literally, I wish I took a picture. I'm not exaggerating. There was not one package of eggs, organic, non-organic, free range, tortured chickens. Like, no matter how mean you were to the chickens, those eggs were costing $10, which is crazy and related to the vibes, which I'm going to talk about later. But yeah, the vibes are just, how's that? That's what I mean. Like, I have $10 in my pocket. I could buy those $10 eggs if I wanted to. And if I bought them, I'm much better off than some 10th century peasant who doesn't even have the option to buy those eggs, And yet, despite the fact that I am, I'm pretty well off, I would say the eggs being $10 a dozen, that's terrible vibes. And so I kind of want to explore the vibes a little bit more and just talk about the vibes just throughout our country, our culture, just everything. So this is not going to be a politics video, but to start off, I want to talk about politics. Specifically, Donald Trump, once again, being president of the United States of America. I feel like presidential elections are a good way to gauge the overall vibe of the country, because elections, a lot of people vote in elections and they account for all kinds of demographics And just by like, even though we only have a two-party system, so you're really only voting for one candidate or the other, or one vibe or the other, is the way I'm going to put it. It still is, I think, a useful barometer just because it's so widespread and it boils down, the vibe into like one of two things. It's a very simplistic way of looking at the vibe, but also one of the more powerful ways of measuring the vibe we have. All right. So first I want to talk about some previous elections that have happened in my lifetime and the vibe that was associated with them when they happened. Like in 2008, when Obama was elected, I would say the vibe was one of general hope, right? Hope specifically because he was the first black president we ever had, and it felt like this country was, moving towards some sort of equality, right? Something that would have seemed impossible, a few decades before was now reality. And it gave everyone hope that things were turning around for the better, right? And that vibe continued when he was reelected in 2012. And then in 2016, Donald Trump was elected again. I would say that vibe reflected a deep simmering tension with the previous vibe of hope that was started with Obama, right? Because in 2016, I think, I'm not a political scientist. I'm not going to explain why Trump was elected president, but I would say it was a big backlash to the way America was changing, right? Make America great again, return it to some previous form of what it used to be, drain the swamp, get all these, fucking people out of Washington. It was a backlash to the establishment. Then in 2020, when Biden was elected, I would say that was a backlash to the backlash. Shout out Bo Burnham. This war between liberals and conservatives. And then finally in 2024, we have Trump elected again. And I kind of want to think about what that has to say about the vibe of 2024. And to do so, I think we have to kind of look at where the 2020s have gone so far. Because, right, when Donald Trump was first elected in 2016, I would say that would have been, once again, I'm not a political scientist. It's been a long time since I took AP US history, so I'm not like super up to date on my American history. But when Trump was elected in 2016, I would say that had a lot to do with how, over the past few decades, America has shifted from a manufacturing economy to a service-based economy, where most people are office workers instead of making stuff with their hands. And that caused a lot of jobs to leave America, go to China. That's another part of the vibe that I'll talk about later, maybe. Freaking TikTok and China and Big Daddy Xi Jinping. But yeah, so when Donald Trump was elected in 2016, I would say that was a big cause of it was the previous decades of change for Americans, right? Because life in America in 2016 was a lot different than life in America in even the 1980s. Never mind like the 1950s, right? And that's all happening within one person's lifetime. You know what I mean? Someone who voted in 1950 is still voting in like 2016 if they live long enough. You know what I mean? So that's what led to what happened in 2016. And so I kind of want to think about, Donald Trump's election in 2024, I feel like has a lot to do with what's happened so far in the 2020s, right? And a big part of that is the economy. Right? If you listen to any freaking podcast, which I do, I listen to a lot of podcasts, which I don't. That's another thing I'm going to talk about later. But like, I listen to way too many podcasts about shit I do not give a fuck about, just because I'm trying to fill my brain with any sort of content, because the inescapable quiet of my brain is too much for me to handle. But we'll get to that later, or maybe not. Anyway, right. A big factor of why Trump was elected president, if you ask a lot of people, is the economy. And I would agree, right? Economy in the 2020s in America, it's been like, once again, it's been okay if you look at like the facts and the numbers, right? Hence why we can't always look at the facts and the numbers when we're talking about the vibe. Because the vibe has been not necessarily great, right? Because of inflation, because of like, I would say it's probably the main thing, inflation, right? There's people like losing their jobs, like sometimes in like manufacturing and the tech industry, but I wouldn't say there's been like, it hasn't been like the Great Recession where like the economy is in shambles. It's mainly been inflation. Once again, that's way above my pay grade to know like why the fuck inflation is like happening in America. But that's a big reason why people voted for Trump, right? Because of inflation, and they feel like Trump can bring back them good old times of 2016 and 2017 when the economy was doing better. And I'll talk about the economy a little bit more later. But what I really want to talk about was kind of how the 2020s have gone. And I feel like the 2020s have not gone well. And that serves as a boost to Trump and anyone who says that they're going to change the system. Right? Because think about the big events of the first 5 years of the 2020s so far. In 2020, we had COVID. Bad year. 2021, I would say the big thing of that year was still COVID. Like, I think it was only like in the summer of that year where we got the vaccine. And even then, like, that didn't stop everyone. That didn't immediately solve COVID for everyone. It still kind of trickled into 2022. 2022, I would say the big event of that year was the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Bad vibes. And the U.S. was super involved in that, and we are still super involved in that. Big news of 2023 was the Israel-Hamas war. Once again, really bad vibes. Is penetrated, has become a big debate point in America, and I think we could, if the war didn't, if these, I think we all can agree it'd be better if those two wars didn't happen, than if they did happen, but they did happen. And then the big event of 2024, I would say, is Trump getting elected and Biden dropping out and all that stuff. But so far in the 2020s, I feel like the vibe has not been, like, all the big news events of the year have been bad. You know what I mean? And maybe that's something to do with our negativity bias as humans. But, like, you know what I mean? There's no news coming out like, oh, big news of 2025 is going to be we cure cancer. The big news of 2025 might be that, like, AI, fucking Skynet comes to life and nukes all of us. Like, I would not be surprised, or frickin', the entire world burns down because of climate change. You know what I mean? Like, the vibes are just not good. And I feel like that is why Trump was elected president, and why everyone is kind of looking to Trump and, like, the government to, like, fix all these things. right? I think it's interesting that the Republican Party, the party of Ronald Reagan, was like, when Ronald Reagan was president, the Republicans were known as like the small government party, right? What did Ronald Reagan said? He had a quote like, "The worst thing you can hear is I'm from the government and I'm here to help." You know what I mean? And that seems to have changed now. Now everyone is looking to big government and Big Daddy Trump to like fix all of our problems, right? We don't want, if you voted for Trump, you don't want him to sit back and do nothing. You want him to like frickin' save the economy and challenge Xi Jinping to a boxing match and get those jobs back in America. So yeah, that's interesting to me. That we're all kind of sort of looking for a hero to save us from the 2020s. I feel like this might speak to some sort of loss of agency that people feel in like modern society where let's just say it, we're all just cogs in the machine. You know what I mean? Our vote matters, I guess, when we elect presidents, but also it doesn't matter if you don't live in a swing state. And even if you live in a swing state, it's probably not your single vote that's swaying the election. Like if you specifically don't vote, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe that speaks to some sort of loss of agency that we all feel in modern society and the modern vibe as to why we need a hero. I need a hero. Why we need a hero to frickin' save us. And once again, this is not a political video. I'm not saying, I'm not supporting or against Trump. Just when you picture me, just picture a totally amorphous political blob, because not that I don't necessarily believe, have my own personal beliefs, but I don't think that's relevant to the discussion of the vibe. But yeah, yeah. What did I say? Trump. Oh yeah, so like we're all looking for Trump to be like, or some of us are looking at Trump to be like this hero to save America from like its decline. And I feel like the way we're looking at it speaks to some kind of change in the mindset of the world, where we believe the world, we've basically given up on like the whole like, when people in the 20th century were thinking about the 21st century, they were like hopeful that it would be like the best century ever, and like man would become enlightened and embrace our fellow humans in love and kindness and solve world hunger. And that doesn't seem to be the case. The case seems to be that we have moved towards deciding, or maybe accepting, I don't know, that the world is a zero-sum game. That's why in America we have to smack tariffs on other countries so that we can get more shit for ourselves, and the other countries can, can suck it, because we gotta take care of ourselves first. That's why Trump is saying we gotta deport all the immigrants, and a very controversial thing. Once again, I'm not gonna dive into it, but that's a very popular idea and policy if you look at how Americans think, right? And it's sort of moved America into this, what I feel like is almost like social Darwinism. You know how like we were all like social Darwinism is bad, um, but it seems to be like it's maybe it's not coming back, but we've embraced this idea that the world is like hard and it's survival of the fittest out there, and we can't take care of everyone, so we gotta just look out for Americans, America first, and everyone else, you know, we can't care about you guys because we got enough problems on our own. um, and I'm not saying there's a good or bad or right or wrong way of looking at the world. I'm just saying that seems to be the way we look at the world now. You know, that seems to be the vibe. I feel like people are not really interested in uplifting our fellow man anymore. You know, everyone is about as a wise man once said, get rich or die trying. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like it just has a way on our collective, it just has an effect on our collective mindset and the way we think about the world, and um, how we interact with the world, right? Because I feel like what it's led to is a kind of um, I feel like people in the modern day, everyone is searching for meaning, for fulfillment, for community, for like for something that gives them purpose in life. You know what I mean? And if the purpose of life is every man for themselves, then it feels like we're back to then we're back to the days of caveman. You know what I mean? Like the caveman days where it's like, yeah, whatever, just like every man for themselves. Everyone's got to hunt their own deer. Screw you. Like I don't give a fuck about you because I got my own problems. And I feel like that. Um, Once again, I want to refrain from passing judgment on things as like good or bad, but it's definitely different. You know what I mean? It's different, and a more hardcore way of looking at the world, I guess. And I feel like this way of looking at the world has kind of seeped into uh, art, the what some people would call the culture, pop culture, which is just like art that everyone consumes, but like um yeah, to shift gears a little bit. Ooh, look at me using my fancy college seminar terms. I want to talk about like the general vibe of like art and culture. It feels like art and culture has become is all like TikTok now. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how else to describe it except it's all TikTok, and it's been getting more and more TikTok. Like everything's been getting more and more TikTok since 2020 basically. And I will pass judgment on this. I don't like it, bro. I don't like it. I know this makes me sound like a old man shaking my fist at the cloud, but I don't like it. I just don't. Um, to give a tangible example, like I really don't like understand music nowadays. I might be reaching unk status, but like I feel like I don't really like music nowadays. There are artists I like nowadays, and there's some music I like that comes out nowadays. But like when I look at like the Spotify like top playlists or like top charts or whatever, I'm like, what is this music, bro? Um, because it all sounds like TikTok music. I don't know. Once again, I don't know how to describe it. Um, it's all like shit that is engineered to like be good on an algorithm, and like inject your brain with as much dopamine, like efficiently inject your brain with as much dopamine as possible, so that you become hooked on it and addicted to it, and you stream the song because you love the artist and you have a parasocial relationship with them, and they can make more money off your streams. And I don't like it. I don't like it because I feel like it's not about the art anymore, right? That's what music is. And that's what like all, culture, pop culture, books, writing, podcasts, TV shows, movies. That's what all art is or that's what all culture is. It's art. But I feel like the art part has been lost somehow because it's all about making money nowadays. You know what I mean? Like everything, like anything you interact with or consume and you have a question about like why it is that way, the answer is almost always money. You know what I mean? Like um like I don't know, like why are there billboards everywhere? Cuz of money. Why is this album released on this specific date? Cuz of money. Why do these actors go on this talk show to talk about their movie? Because of money. It's all because of money nowadays. Or at least that's for most things. It's the primary reason, and I don't like it. I don't like it. Like I said, and I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that like, like it wasn't about money in like the 1950s or the frickin' 1700s when the kings were like working all their peasants super hard. It's all throughout all of human history has always been about money. But I don't know. I guess it's something about like the modern way of doing things with like the technology and the algorithm, and it's just like so obviously about the money nowadays, where it's like it's a little bit disheartening. And also the fact that like, people, I feel like people were saying like, oh, just you wait until one day when like society reaches a point where we're all advanced and like smart and like know, and like we all shed our old racist ways, and like, we all accept each other as human beings, then money will no longer be any object. Guess what? It's still like the most important thing in the world, and it's all anyone cares about. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like everything's about money, which is sad. um, and arts, yeah, I feel like art, it's not about making people think anymore, but just about like satisfying them. Um, which is, I don't know. That doesn't feel like art to me. That feels like just you tricked my brain. You use like some things you learned about marketing and branding or whatever to trick my brain into like into wanting your product. But I feel like art is supposed to be, um, I don't know, like speak to some greater pursuit of humanity. I guess that's why like I'm saying that the zero sum thing is bad, because that feels like the antithesis of art. You know what I mean? Because art should be freely given to everyone, so everyone can enjoy art and think about it and have their lives enriched by the art. That's why we got libraries and museums, and the Met is free. I was gonna say free museums, but most museums aren't free. But the Met is free, and I go to the. I'm not ashamed to say it. I go to the Met. They ask me how much you want to donate. I say 1 penny. I say I'm gonna. I say I'm gonna donate 1 penny for philosophical reasons, because I don't believe this art right here should be monetized and capitalized. I don't believe Francisco Goya would want that after his death. I don't know anything about Francisco Goya. Maybe he was an unabashed capitalist. But you know what I mean. I feel like it's all about the money nowadays. And if you want another example of this, you can look no further than sports, right? I feel like sports is the ultimate like bastardization of pop culture, because sports here's the thing, like the NFL is more popular than ever, right? And I would almost argue that it's thanks to Taylor Swift, because she really like made football cool again somehow by like dating Travis. I think Taylor and Travis are like our literal first lady and first gentleman. They are like the Duke and Princess of Kansas City. But that's neither here nor there. The NFL is more popular than ever, right? And let me say, I've been a football fan for a long time, since 2007, when the Giants won the Super Bowl. And maybe if the Giants weren't such a sorry ass franchise, I would actually like sports. That has something to say about the Giants and how sorry they've been, that they've destroyed my enjoyment of sports. But no, really, I feel like sports is the ultimate bread and circuses, right? Because I was really into fantasy football for the past few years. And then this year was the first year I didn't play fantasy football, because I just realized like what these 22 really jacked guys do on a football field thousands of miles away from me, like what they do literally has no impact on my life whatsoever. Like it doesn't matter at all. And in fact, if I didn't have this stupid fantasy football app, I wouldn't even know what the fuck these 22 guys are doing on a football field thousands of miles away from me. You know what I mean? Sports is literally nothing but pure entertainment, right? Because if you're a fan of a sports team, you're not on the field. You have no say in how that sports team is run. It's literally just something for you to consume and enjoy. And unlike like, I don't know, like a TV show, which you could at least argue has like some like artistic merit or implications, there's no artistic value in like a sports game. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to insult the athletes out there. I'm sure y'all could beat me up in like 2.5 seconds if you wanted to. Y'all are way richer than me. You guys live much better lives than me. You know what I mean? And more power to you to play your sport and make tons of money from it. But I think like sports as a whole, for the general population at large, serves just as a distraction. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get anything from watching a sports team except entertainment. And I'm not saying that entertainment is bad and people should be Amish and never watch sports or anything, but I think like how invested we are as a culture into sports has something to say about how adrift we are as a society. You know what I mean? Once again, I'm not trying to be like from freaking like return, everyone needs to be a trad wife and like return to the homestead. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I feel like it has something to say with how distracted everyone is nowadays. How TikTok brained everyone is nowadays, where all we want is just instant gratification, instant entertainment. And what's the easiest way to do that? Is by watching a football game or going on your TikTok or like, I don't know, just whatever freaking dopamine the algorithm shoves in your face, just consume that. And I don't know. I don't know how I don't know how good that is for us as a society. Um, the very first video I ever did on this channel, back in 2020, actually, start of a decade, was talking about, is the internet good or bad? And I feel like even in 2020, I feel like in 2020 that argument was like kind of like on the fence. Like you could argue that like, social media is good for you because you can keep in contact with people you may have drifted from. I feel like in 2025, like that case is closed, bro. Like it's bad, bro. All these screens are bad for us, bro. It really do be that damn phone. And um that has something to say about social media and how it's conditioned us all to always compare ourselves with other people and always distract ourselves with dopamine and whatever's coming next and whatever out the algorithm serves us. And I also think it has something to say about like the promise of big tech and how that promise is dead now because in the 2000s and the 2010s, tech was cool. You know what I mean? It was Instagram, it was Facebook back when Facebook was cool and not for boomers. It was the age of Vine and Yik Yak, and Snapchat was cool, and the internet just felt like this wide world of possibilities where you could get news, you could you know you could research your symptoms about whatever disease you had on WebMD, and Wikipedia. It was like the Library of Alexandria was at your fingertips, right? That's what the internet felt like in the 2000s and the 2010s, and I feel like that's all. Like the internet doesn't feel like that anymore. The internet feels bad. Like I am really obviously I'm saying this on youtube.com and if you're listening to me say this, you're watching this video. But like I have really been trying to decrease my screen time just because like of everything I've said, where it's like it feels like my brain is getting conditioned to just want dopamine all the time, right? And like just consume things all the time. And it reaches a point where I'm mindlessly consuming things or like mindlessly playing video games. And I'll realize like I don't even really want to like be watching this right now or playing this right now. I'm just kind of doing it because it's a habit of mine. And like I literally don't know what else to do except like consume, like get all this dopamine in my brain. Like is rewire my brain. So I'm trying to like rewire it back to like not be so addicted to like all this shit. But yeah, I feel like that's where tech has gone. Like how I was saying earlier, like if you have a question about why something is the way it is, just it always trickles back to the money. Like if you have any questions about like why any tech company does anything it does, it's because of money, right? Facebook, Apple, Google, anything these are publicly traded companies. Anything they do is literally about turning a profit and making money. It's not about like making your life better or giving you, access to information. It's about making money off you. And I feel like I had this realization that like the way they make money off me is by holding my attention, right? That's how sports makes money off me, right? It's because if I watch a sports game and they hold my attention, they make money off me buying jerseys or buying tickets or watching ads or whatever, right? Or gambling, And I realized that's like why when you watch a sports game, all the commercials are about reinforce that fandom is good, right? If you watch a commercial, if you watch a football game, there's a commercial. There'll be commercials about like beer, right? And it's like, here's for the ones who cheat, or here's for the ones who like are committed to their team. And it's like, oh, like this fucking company, I realize like, oh, this fucking company is saying this to me because they want to reinforce the obsession in sports in their viewers. It's not because they actually think like that's good or they even care if it's good or bad. They just know that like if people watch the sports game, they make more money. So they like do as much as possible to reinforce that thought. And I feel like it is the same way with tech. Like they like when you look at your phone, the people are trying to get you to look at your phone for as long as possible because that's how they make money. If you put down your phone, they stop making money. So yeah, the motives of tech bad, and I feel like this has led to, maybe not led to, but like it's a reason why tech just feels bad nowadays, right? It doesn't feel like is this cool thing. It feels like they're out to get you and make money off you. And by the way, like their products like AI or crypto, they're not about improving your life, right? They're about making more money. How can AI make workers more productive so it can make more money? Crypto. How can this crypto coin increase in value so everyone makes more money? And yeah, I don't know. It just feels like a big letdown for tech because I feel like, you know, the cool factor of tech was a big reason why I majored in CS in the first place. And maybe that was a stupid reason to major in CS. But yeah, it just oh, damn, look at this shit. I would love to explore this cave and not die. I do have some coal. So let's make some shit and go down there. What was I saying? Yeah, tech. No bueno. I also feel like it's interesting that at Trump's inauguration, like all the CEOs of big tech literally had his back. Like they were literally in the background of the election, the inauguration. And I feel like the word oligarchy has been thrown around a lot. I personally, think that's true. I think we are kind of we basically are in an oligarchy, right? Because you and me, we are peons, and Elon is the one about to run the fucking show up into here, and so is Zuck and like all the CEOs, right? They're gonna be the ones who fucking tell Trump what to do, and we peons simply do not matter as much as them. I feel like this has been true for a while now, right? All the big banks are like in politics, and like they have way more say on how America is run than any of us. So I feel like this country has a lot of wealth inequality, and I feel like people realize that this is bad. Like, if you have I feel like if you have common sense, you can tell that the way capitalism has shaken out in America is not like ideal or even good, really. It serves to right? It serves to mainly enrich people who are already rich and keep them in power. And it gives us all shit, right? We do have greater material standards of living than we did in like the 18th century, but the vibe is still really bad, right? Like I was saying earlier. I feel like this is the only way you can explain what Luigi did, because from an objective standpoint, Luigi had a good life, right? He had a CS degree and a master's. and a master's degree. I don't even have a master's degree, but you know, he could have worked any tech job and made 100K a year for the rest of his life, and that would have been a really good life for him. And yet, the vibe was so bad that Luigi shot that CEO in Manhattan, and I feel like the vibe is bad. The vibe is bad because the rich are getting richer and they seem to not care about us. And it seems like the world is heading towards something bad, right? Right? That's why Trump said you have to elect me, because if Biden stays in office, bad things are going to happen. At the same time, Kamala was like, if you have to vote for me, because if Trump gets elected, other bad things are going to happen. I don't think so obviously both sides felt that the world was not going towards a good place. Maybe Kamala less so because she was part of the incumbent the incumbents. But I think she would say, maybe she wouldn't say it because she's a politician. But I think if you face like the reality and how people feel, it feels like the world is not trending towards a good place, right? It feels like we're trending towards some sort of frickin' World War III over Taiwan. That's how it feels to me. Either that or the whole world burns to a crisp before that happens because of climate change. But either way, like, the vibe is not good. And I want to think about how, if anything, we can do to change that. You know what I mean? Or do we just all have to bury our heads in the sand until, and focus on our personal lives and just like give up hope that we can change the world for the better? I don't think we should give up hope. We can't go down that easy, everyone. But it does feel hard to think about what any of us can do to change it. That's why we need Big Daddy to save us. But this time, Big Daddy might be our solutions. It might be just up to us from now on. I feel like I don't even fucking know, guys. Now we're in uncharted territories because I don't have notes for what I'm gonna say here. Vibe's bad. It's 2025, right? I feel like the vibe got bad really fast. I feel like in 2016, like the vibe, like, people are nostalgic for 2016, right? And I can see why, right? It's the Obama years, the XXL ciphers weren't trash yet. Closer, Banger to End All Bangers came out. People are very nostalgic for 2016, and I feel like if there's anything I've realized, it's that things are never as good or bad as they may be. You know what I mean? Because I always feel like there's like, or the way the world is, you would think that like there's some Illuminati out there that's like purposefully making it be this way and be this crazy. But I feel like there's really not. Like, we really do just live in this crazy world. But the good thing about there not being an Illuminati is that like things are never like as crazy as they seem. Like, yes, we live in a crazy time, a crazy world. The vibes are bad. Eggs are $10. What the fuck? But 2016 wasn't even 10 years ago. So I don't feel like things could have, You know, most of us who are alive now, we're still alive in 2016. And if we felt like the vibe was at least better, not so, I'm not going to say trending upwards in 2016 because we still had a lot of problems in 2016, but at least if we felt like the vibes were better in 2016, then, we're all still here. We're all still mostly the same. In fact, we're all 9 years wiser. Who's to say that we can't figure something out to make things to make America great again? No, just kidding. To make things better. So yeah, I don't know. I just want to say all this shit because that's how I feel about the vibe. And if you listen to it, maybe you feel this way too. I would say my current outlook for the world is pessimistic but hopeful. I don't really have any proof that I should be hopeful. I'm just hopeful because I sure want to live in a world that's good and not bad. So I'm going to remain hopeful because I don't want to live in a dystopia, even though it seems we're trending that way. Yeah, I think that's all I got to say, folks. Once again, a lot of questions raised in this episode of Minecraft Therapy. Little to no answers given. But that's just the way these things go here on Minecraft Therapy. We ask the tough questions. We don't answer them. All right, maybe I'll have more to say later on. But yeah, that's a wrap. That's an episode. Thanks for watching, everyone. We are getting a nice little base up here on this mountain. And yeah, hope everyone's 2025 is going swell. The vibes, once again, like, I will say this, even if the vibes are bad in the world, I feel like you can almost mostly ignore that when it comes to your personal life, which is where I think like 99% of your happiness should come from. That's why I was saying like I'm trying to get off screens because like even if the vibe is really bad on my phone screen, if I just don't look at my phone screen, which once again, I'm not saying like don't be informed about, the world and who's president, but like if I just like don't look at my phone and doom scroll, then it's like, oh, it's not that bad. And I don't know. I feel like that is how we end up changing the world for the better, is we all individually focus on our lives and like spread love and kindness in our own lives to the people we know personally and we interact with in our own personal lives. And if we all do that in our personal lives, in our little circles, then I feel like it's going to have a big ripple effect on the world. But we all got to do that, which is why it's a lot easier said than done. It doesn't work if like only 10 of us do that, or even if only like 75% of us do that. Like we all have to do that for love and kindness to take over the world. So yeah, maybe that'll be the lesson for this episode. Be loving and kind to the people in your life. All right, that's it. I will see you guys very soon. Once again, hope everyone's having a fantabulous 2025. Stay safe, stay sane out there. Catch you next time. Peace.